We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of The Past. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of The Past, and I hope you all enjoy.
Finding your thing. What's good? What is up? What is cracking? We are moving and grooving and singing to the music. Of course, trying to get prepared. Life is going to do what life does. As obstacles get thrown in the way, even when you didn't ask them to be thrown in the way, but it's all good. Somehow, the challenges are just part of the plan. But with all that being said, man, I really want to take time and wish everybody like a happy Tuesday. And I'm gonna be a little vulnerable for a second. This is one of those mornings. I'm just saying it just because it's this morning, but because it's the truth. But I ain't gonna hold you. I would love to be sitting in the house and just chilling. But for whatever reason, life don't work that way. When you are, I don't even want to say called, when you're given an assignment or you're asked to do something, there's a reason behind the ask. And this is a lot of things in our lives. It's all going to be about doing the thing that you were intending to do, but also finding that way to overcome the challenges of what life puts in front of you. And most importantly, the importance of a community. So let's chop it up for a second. I wrote this status share yesterday, and still should not be hard to find the book today. Like I said, the book is quite a classic. I think it was in my early stages of Amazon purchasing that bought this book by Rick Warren called The Purpose Driven Life. And at the time, no lie, I was 21. I was in a very figuring it out as state within, and my routine was, lightly speaking, non-existent. But I didn't have one. So I bought the book, started with it, and it then turned into a steering conscious. Worked on a couple of days of the book and put it off to the side. Fast forward 20 years later, I attended I've been attending a men's ministry service with fellow brothers and just having a safe space and having an opportunity to talk things out and navigate life. And it's been an adjustment, but it's been an adjustment that I needed. I share that because quite some time we living and we figuring out what our why is and what we're doing this for. What we're doing this thing called life for. And everybody's not going to understand your personal why. And that's obviously okay because your why is not their why. I didn't know or didn't understand what I'm intended to do. But in the last few years, I've looked at the many skills and the many talents that I've gained over, gained over time. And the same thought, the same idea pops up. What do I do with these things, especially if I've put them in a idle or dormant position? The OG answer, I don't know. The realistic answer, bro, you need to figure it out. So lately, it's been a matter of me figuring it out. And I got off work, thought about the book a little bit at work, but didn't really give it much thought. And then I got home and it was, I'm not even gonna say it was kind of creepy. I won't say it's kind of coincidental, but something happened. And I said, let me go in my trunk and see if I can find this book. Because a lot of books that I have or have had or owned or whatever are in my trunk. And so I opened the trunk, I opened this particular box that I knew most of my books were in. And literally the first book on top of that stack was The Purpose Driven Life. That leads us to here. What on earth am I here for? I shared this in my journal, um, my the voice journal entry yesterday that personally believe in the last few days of being here, my dad knew his had fulfilled and found his purpose. His purpose was to spread the word. And we weren't, he and I were never quote unquote battling each other about it or me being defiant about it or none of those things. It was just more, it was not where I personally was with that information. Now, it's not that I'm getting into the word, I'm getting back to the word because I've always had it, it's always been a part of me. And even more so now than ever before, I've put myself in a position where I'm very I'm not gonna say well, I can say that. I'm very selective in who I address or talk about this with because many people have gone through so many different experiences with church trauma, with religion, religious trauma, spiritual abuse, the whole nine. And I won't say that I've gone to those lengths personally, but I can say that a large amount of me needed to be away to get back. And why I say it that way is because even down to work, I was away from IT for give or take, shoot, we're looking at, dang, I know I was at least almost 20 years out the game. When I say 20 years, I mean it as I had my job in IT in '06, '08, gone. I say at least, but it was over 15 actually, because 20, 2008 was when I got let go from, um, basically, I mean, in 2007, early 2008, I got let go from my temp agency. And at break, I think I worked in healthcare 2 or 3 times. I did I was an unarmed security. I worked at a gas station. I worked at U-Haul. I've shared this plenty of times. I did quite a fair share. And eventually I got where I belong. And I got where I belong to get to where I wanted to go so I can become who I want to be. And even with what I'm doing now, this is only the beginning. I've just kind of been not autopiloting, but just navigating this current space and valuing this current space for what it's worth. Um, but yeah, I really have worked and wanted to work harder on fulfilling my intent and my plans while I'm here because our time here is so minimal. And we hear that, but we don't really think about it because you got to look at it. Like even right now, I'm looking outside. There are trees, there's grass, there's the streets. They will work on the streets 1,000 times a day. Like there are some parts of these streets that have been worked on since I was a kid. Like probably before I was born. But these streets will still be here. These schools, they're gonna go through what they go through. They'll get rid of one, they'll bring something in, they're gonna make changes. Us on the other hand, you get but a good amount of time, and your objective is to make the most of that time. And a friend who's been doing a men's ministry, X, he said something, and it kind of took me back a little bit in a good way because he basically said, we are a small microscopic piece of what and who and how God operates in our lives. And I'll warn y'all now, if you don't want the religious or you think this about to get too churchy or whatever, totally understand. But I want you to really think about let's take let's and I'm not even saying it in this aspect, but I'm saying it in a general aspect. Let's not even make the address a reference of because that can get real over get deep and get too much. But let's break it down on a very basic basis. You are here on this earth as one human being, and you think in your day to day, just one day, think of how many people you surpass, you cross, you interact with, you talk to, you get mad with, you don't want to be bothered with. People will come inviting themselves into your life. The whole bit. Think of all those people that cross your path in whatever capacity. And out of those people, at the end of the day, it's still you. But why I'm saying that is because, another example. We drive, most of us, commute to and from work. And some commute to and from work, some people work from home. The folks that work from home, the amount of people that you're going to talk to on a day-to-day basis, you're one out of whatever amount of people. Some people, depending on your job or your role, you may talk to that person one time and may never talk to them again. And we are such a finite element because you, we hear the whole thing of like when you're born or before you're born, you're trying to, it's like how children are produced basically, or reproduced, if you will. And you're here, you fought against everybody else, and you made it. Hit 42, you don't think about what got you to 42 when you were when you were born or here or alive or whatever the case may be. And I want to share this while I'm talking about this too. A few days ago, I found, like I said, X had us do an assignment, and I call like he goes by X, I call him Xavier. That's like it's funny because I never at any point, and it's all, I mean, with me, it's always been a respecting anyway, but I've never had a purpose or intent to ever disrespect him as a person. I tried to always help and give him like what guidance I could give to my capacity. And all things considered, I think I did a pretty good job. I'm not gonna sit here and say I was like flawless and got it all right because we're human. But he shared a message and said, I want you to go find a baby picture of yourself, find some quiet time, and just have a conversation with that younger version of you. Now, for years, I still have the cork board, but I haven't used it in like forever. But I had a cork board that had a lot of messages on it. And it was different post-it notes, all colors, all thoughts, ideas, whatever. But with those pictures, I mean, with those sticky notes, I had a picture of me when I used to play basketball at the Boys and Girls Club. Well, ironically, I met X, and I would have used that picture, but I was like, I need to go younger. I need like a younger version of me. And so I found this picture because I know my mom takes a lot of pictures. So I found this picture of me playing the drums, which a lot of people saw online. And even in me finding the picture, I had to stop and like just reflect because one thing it brought to my attention, which I haven't been doing this, and my bad to y'all who've been accustomed to it. Normally, we'll post pictures while I'm walking my longer walks on Saturday, and there's been a reason for that, but we're gonna make the main thing. We're gonna keep the main thing the main thing. Um, so that younger version of me and myself had a talk Sunday, We prayed and we unpacked and we got into it. And there was a mindset shift that began. And I didn't realize how important that beginning would be until now, with just everything I'm trying to work on, with some personal goals that I've kind of let fall to the wayside. And I talked about this on my in my journal a little bit. There were goals that I set with my trainer since going to the gym. And I've gotten close to all of them fulfilled. My confidence on the treadmill has been way better. My walking, normally, if you've been listening, and I say this because because it's y'all, and I ain't got no filter about it. But when I first used to do these walks and come out here doing them, and I put on my AirPods and put in my earbuds, I would sound like I was hooked, like tired. And the crazy thing is, and many of you, if you listen to the show, you can tell, I really don't do a large amount of editing with these shows. The reason why is I don't want to I don't want to reduce background noise if a plane is flying over. I don't want to reduce background noise if a bird is flying by. I don't want to reduce noise if I happen to be um if an ambulance is going somewhere. I want you to hear everything because it's nature. But that conversation was a kickstart to yesterday and just what I'm doing and where I'm trying to go and who I want to be. Because I know I can do it. I know it's there. Even Saturday, I think I got a, well, not Saturday, Sunday morning, I got a bit of it because normally I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna do my walk, 3.25 miles, and I'm gonna go home. Instead, I walked, and in the process of the walk, a little bit of running happened. And I was like, well, look at this. This is different. But where now the challenge lies is that I'm now working on the endurance factor of picking up my speed. Like yesterday, for a few weeks, my trainers had me do 2 laps on the virtual treadmill, which is a half a mile. Half a mile don't seem like a lot, but on a treadmill with an incline, different ball game. But it's been beneficial now and beginning to unravel. And even like the different workouts that I've done the last few days, the last few weeks has shown. Like despise the kettleball. I mean not kettleball, medicine ball. Despise it. Hate it. Can't do it. And I say that I don't say that complaining. I say that as it is one of my frenemies, literally, because I rock with it. I make it do what it do. But on some real, I would I can still think back to when I first started using it to do different exercises. And I was like, no, this ain't gonna do it. But now, like I can do a Russian, what's called a Russian twist, where you have a medicine ball, you're on the ground, your front, your legs, and your back are just about at like a 90-degree angle, but you're relying on your behind to like keep you balanced um as well as working on your core. And let me tell you, I've done those exercises for the last few sessions and been able to knock out like 20 three sets to 20 with no breaks, no like, oh my gosh, I just do it. I'm gonna be honest and hold it to my head and my heart. I don't recall what the second part of this talk was gonna be about. But the third part has been probably something that I've been preaching and talking about and addressing for quite some time. And I will keep addressing for quite some time because whether we know it or not, and whether we think about it or not, in our lives, community is going to matter in some way, shape, or form. The only reason that I'm addressing community in this talk on this walkcast is because you are going to want to have people who are there for you, who are open to supporting you in any and every way possible. And having those people will make such an impact on your life without you knowing it. I've been doing the podcast almost like coming up on 9 years. And many times my community is the incentive. I don't make this a conversation because it's not a pressing conversation personally, but as much money as I see and I notice mainstream artists, creators, athletes, former athletes get from podcasting, I don't see a sniff of that. And it's not because it's not there to be made. It's because and people think this is like it's it's a bad reference, but it's a legitimate feeling. I'm not selling my soul. I'm not selling my soul to sell. I'm not selling anything just to sell anything. That don't ride with me at all. It's never been a thing that I've been a fan of. And the more that I've noticed that, the more that I've been able to just kind of be true with what I've shared and what my content is. Um, Before I went to the gym yesterday, Jaleel White, many people know him as Steve Urkel, was talking about his girlfriend who he had on Family Matters. Granted, they were not in a relationship, but they had a very good friendship throughout their childhood and throughout their television hood or acting stage. And he was talking about how one thing that she was not a fan of was she wasn't just going to take a gig just to take a gig. She was very meticulous with how and what she did. And she felt really bad based on the job she had because she was a waitress and this was following her being on Family Matters. But she kind of, like many people do, seclude themselves. And I'm sharing that story because ain't nothing wrong with you. If you need time to yourself, you need time to yourself. But you want to have people around, but you want to have the right people around. Like, whether I come clean and saying it or not, there's really a huge reason why I'm not as quote unquote outside as people think I am. And a lot of it has to do with just the simple fact that everybody don't get Brian. Do I pull up and go to events? 1000%. Is there gonna be an announcement when I go? Absolutely not. And the reason why is because everything does not need to be a status. And my friend Special, who always appreciate her as a person, appreciate her content. Once I'm finished this walk, I'm gonna text her and make sure she's fulfilling her morning routine. Um, she went live yesterday and talked about the good old famous and favorite conversation slash topic of social media. Social media is very, social media becomes triggering even if it's not triggering. And I say that because at some point, doesn't matter if you tried to or didn't try to, someone is going to test you via social media. Heck, somebody goes test you in the real world. And you sometimes literally, as much as you may not want to, you got to let sleeping dogs lie. And it's, the age old question becomes, well, that's not right. I want to I want to compete. I want to address this, and I don't think it's fair. And it's like, okay, do something about it. Like, if you don't like what's going on, make a change, and not just make a change, but make a change for bettering you and bettering your life. And you'd be surprised at the results in doing that. For a lot of us, we don't we don't realize how important change is in our betterment and fulfillment. Give me one sec, y'all. Be right back. All right, y'all. We back. So conversation went off, steered a little bit off course, but I really want to level with you all on the importance of your tribe and your community. I have a limited few who have been in my circle for a long time. Two friends who we pretty much went to the same elementary, I guess you could say middle school. Don't think we went to I know two of us went to the same high school. I might be tripping because all three of us probably did. I don't remember. But I'm old. But for real, I can 100% say they are my tribe. Like, it's a duality of not only are they my tribe, but they get me. When I say they get me, they get me. Reason I say that is I might have shared it in a post a podcast or a walkcast a while back. We had a alumni event with the Boys and Girls Club, and I really and honestly was not gonna go. I was on in limbo. I really was not ready to people the whole night. I just wanted to chill and literally be out the way. Life do a thing, man, where it's like the thing that you don't want to do, you're gonna do it, even if you don't want to do it. And this also is something I want to bring up from the men's ministry too. One of the younger guys who was there shared a story that was very, very touching. And I won't put any details out there about his story. But what I will share is he mentioned how someone he works with tried to, step up to him and approach him. And him being who he is, and many times we do this and don't even know it. We get thrown into a position of what you gonna do. You gonna react or you gonna let it be. And it's not even the whole turn the other cheek, because I think that gets misinterpreted. Because if you gotta do what you gotta do, sometimes it's just what it is. But sometimes you gotta think of the bigger picture with certain people. And with this guy, and everybody kind of said it in various forms. The bigger picture is a much more important element in this one because we don't think about this. And this is like been my message that I've been like constantly sharing over and over because it's a real thing. Many times the folks that you think you need, it's the opposite. They need you. And they'll carry themselves like they don't. And they're like, oh, I'm good. I'm all right. But there's always that one thing that'll happen that in the moment it happened and you're like, well, I ain't think much of it. It shouldn't be a big deal. Water under the bridge, nothing worth stressing. But the reality is that person is going through whatever they're going through, and you don't even know it, but you just happen to be in a crossfire. Happens to the best of us. Hell, it happens to the worst of us. But you have to discern yourself. And that was talk about a moment. Discernment and just sitting and just knowing how to use your words properly and not feel as though you got to be trained to go and really give people what they least expect because you really don't know. And this is something too, and this is like a message without being a message. You really never know what people are going through at all. Like when my friend went live yesterday, and I didn't mind it because it's been my journey, it's been my story over the last, we'll say 20, 20 plus years, almost 20 years. I say 20 plus, but it was like oh 08. So close to 20 years. So 15 plus to give it perspective. I've lost quite a fair share of people who meant and still mean the world to me. And my functioning question is, how do I do it? And the immediate answer is, I don't know. But the realistic answer is, I'm not doing it by myself. I got definitely got a man upstairs in my corner, and I shared this during my journal yesterday. All those people, at one point, it was me doing it for them, but now I'm doing it with them, meaning they're doing it with me. So this workout, this health transition, has been them being with me through all of it. The interactions changing like they have, they've been with me through all of it. Because I'm gonna be real. Some people, and many of my friends who know me understand this, I really have had in my life a short fuse. I'm not gonna sit there and BS it. The reason I had the short fuse is I didn't have outlets. I didn't have ways to get through what I'm needing to get through. And over time, I found the right things to address those concerns. So journaling, podcasting, blogging slash newsletter. Like my newsletter, I didn't realize it until just now. It's almost a year old. Um, I guess you could say December. December will be a year I've been keeping the newsletter up. And anyone who knows me knows I don't really do well with sticking with stuff. Like I'll start on something, do it for a while, and be like, this is cool. I'm tired of it. I want to do something else. And I go do something else. But now, on the weekends, usually Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays. Like Saturday is definitely committed to it because Sunday will be a little tight because I got a lot going on. But Saturday, I sit down, find me a good little opportunity, and I write my newsletter out. And I think personally, the newsletters have been very under undervalued in how therapeutic they are. But now the more that I'm like sitting in front of the computer, stopping and valuing the opportunity to do the newsletter, it's beginning to unfold in ways that I would have never allowed it to unfold before. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about is just giving the proper things the space it needs to be what it's intended to be. So that means if I need to, um, if I need to journal, like journaling, like I said, the Journals app, and maybe I didn't see it before, but the Journals app actually is twofold with the Journals app, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. The Journals app changing itself from the recording option, I mean, to the typing option to giving you the option to record and adding the transcript, game changer. Huge game changer. Even your like the voice recordings that I saved to do the podcast, I can transcribe those into journals. Not journals, but I can transcribe them, get the transcription, and I can place it wherever I want. Like if I wanted to place it in Cortex, Notion, wherever I feel the need to place my thoughts, I can place it there. And that's a very resourceful tool too. And I like the fact because anytime I do use the app for that, it's like you know, I was doing it at the time I was doing it the long way, but then just recently I realized on the Journals app that I would always say everything. Then I would get the transcription and I would copy the transcription to paste it into the journal. But now what I've been doing is I've been actually they have an option that says add transcription to entry. So I will literally hit that, save myself from copying and pasting it because the last thing you want to do, you might paste it somewhere you might not want it to be. So been excited to learn that and things. But I really want you all to, if you have the ability and the bandwidth, please check out The Purpose Driven Life. If you're able to find a copy of the journal, get the journal. If you can't find the journal, do not use an excuse to not do The Purpose Driven Life. Get pen and paper and write it out. I know I'm always and I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know this now and early and often. You will hear me talk a lot over the next couple of podcasts about pen and paper. I don't care if you have a phone. I don't care if you're a digital fan. I'm not against the digital world whatsoever, especially as someone who works in IT. But what I want people to remember is writing it out will help more than you realize. And the reason I'm adamant about that, and I think I mentioned it in one of my walkcasts because it's a true statement. Anytime you watch any of these people when they're in, like they do the different body cam footage, and you see the police officer talking to them to get information, they'll say, "Do you have an ID?" "No, I don't have an ID." "All right, let me get your name." They're going to reach for that same pen and that same pad that 85 to 90% of us are afraid to use. And it's important to do that because you want to write things down for informational purposes and also for the benefit of the actual, like if they're trying to find out what happened, you have that log, and that log is helpful because then if you got to file a police report, obviously you're not gonna come out there with the clipboard filing a police writing out a police report. You need to write down exactly what happened and how it all went down. So that's part one. Purpose Driven Life, Rick Warren. Get a copy. You can find the book anywhere. The second thing, I didn't, and this was not in the script, but since I'm sitting down, I want to share this. Find a way to build your second brain. And a lot of people are going to listen to that and they're going to be like, what the heck is a second brain? Go on YouTube, listen, type in second brain. I'm going to personally say, listen to the episode. It's a podcast episode that Ryder Carroll did where he has Tiago Forte on as a guest. And Tiago Forte wrote the book, How to Build a Second Brain. He also talked about the Power Method, which I have both books. Haven't read them yet. But even in listening to this, it made me really understand how to begin the stages and begin the process of building a second brain. Because what happens is we need a catch-all space to gather and get our ideas and thoughts into a home. And when I joined the Cortex Beta, at the time I didn't understand it, but now that I've been in it for a while, I understand a lot clearer why he made a section of the Cortex app. Like when you open it from your phone, it automatically goes to capture. Because for the longest time, I was like, why is what's capture? What do you mean? But capture is part of the core reference. Oh, I'm sorry, not core, code reference that um Tiago Forte uses. And before I get to my third point, I'm sorry. Be very aware when it comes to influencers, when it comes to philanthropists, when it comes to idealists. Many of them are using or utilizing the same method. They're just doing it in different ways. Case in point, Ali Abdal, Dan Coe, uh, Ryder Carroll, Tiago Forte. Those are the first four that I can think of because I know those four I've like listened to or kept track. Cal Newport, I'll throw him in there. James Clear with Atomic Habits. Those six individuals, Mel Robbins, those seven, I would say those seven. There's some others, but those are like the seven that are like mainstream that you hear about. I can't remember his name, but he wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. Uh, he's in that conversation. They all, in so many ways, are giving you a source of information from a different perspective. And they're going to get you to the same point in some form or fashion. They're just doing it under their methodology. Like I have talked about this endless amounts of times. I had never heard of the bullet journal a day in my life. And I think when I started doing it, it had been out for about 6 or 7 years. I learned what it was. I acquired the resources to learn how to do it. 2019, I was focused on learning how to do it. I think 2018 or 2019. I think 2018 I bought the book. 2019 I was going to learn how to do it. 2019 I learned it. 2020 I was like, all right, I'm going to finish the last couple pages of this book and then I'm going to start bullet journaling. And then Kobe Bryant passed away. The day Kobe passed away was the first day I started bullet journaling. And the crazy thing is, and I've stopped beating myself up about it because it's not the end of the world. But I still believe I threw the first two bullet journals I had, I think I threw them away. I don't know where they are. I've tried to look in so many different places, but I really wish I had them just as like a remembrance of where I started, especially with the first two being like dedicated to Jonas, who was like a big Tetris guy, and Kobe Bryant. I think personally, because of me doing that, and that might be why I have like two of the Kobe Bryant signs up like I do. Um, I'm going to use this window to announce too that next month. I will be uh, acquiring my next bullet journal for next year. I was unsure if I wanted to use the Bordeaux notebook that I already have because I still love that notebook. I'm going to use it for something. I have not figured out what as of yet, but it's there and available. A friend of mine, her and I talked. I think at the time I told her I was going to get the Stealth. As much as I'd like to do the Stealth edition, I have enough black notebooks. I think it's time for me to brighten things up a little bit and go with the yellow. So, and I'm saying that today, but tomorrow I might, or by the time I actually buy it, I may end up actually getting the Stealth because I do want to add the Stealth as like a collector's item. So it's in the works. And I'm also looking at pricing too because I think the Stealth was. I gotta double check. I think the Stealth was like 80, and I'm like, I'm not. I mean, sure. Do I want to be a supporter and show love to what he's doing? Absolutely. Do I need another pin loop? Do I need another pin? No, I don't. I've got enough pins. I got more than enough pins. Um, and plus, contrary to popular belief, I don't like the pin loop on the current bullet journal that I have. And by the way, I've been slacking on bullet journaling. I just thought about that. I need to get that back active again. Also, second part or the third part that I was supposed to share because I went all over the place. Third part, most importantly, find your tribe, build your community, create, create, create. Connect with folks who are into the things you're into. A friend of mine, she probably is going to listen to this episode, and I want her to hear this loud and clear. If you are a fan of watching the moon, find folks that are moon and stargazers as well. Find those ones who do it and can make it an enjoyable space and make it where you can ground yourself. Like, I did not, for the life of me, understand or gather the concept of grounding. Um, I may go back and watch the video. There's a song called The Secret Life of Plants. It's from a soundtrack called The Secret Life of Plants. It was by Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder did like the soundtrack for it. And I remember this video very clearly because there's a part of the video where you see him just walking. Now, everyone makes jokes about him being blind or whatever, but or not being blind. However, there's a part in the video I remember it so clearly where he's walking across, like walking on the ground, barefoot, being grounded. And the craziest thing, and I'll be 100% truthful, if I had and this is me still building my like just strength in general, I would be open easily to doing workouts barefoot. But I also understand too health, safety, things of that nature. So those are my messages to you all. Find your tribe, connect with folks, be a plant, grow, fulfill and like please build up nutrition by giving yourself the proper nutrients to build. And I will close with this because this has been my go-to, especially with doing a podcast and me getting ready to help a friend with a podcast. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Please get your water intake. On that note, this is BT signing out. Catch y'all next time.
Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share at the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepastbtpod@gmail.com. And also the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today,
than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.